Well, in turbulent times and uncertain economic conditions, investors generally turn to gold. But silver, which is often referred to as gold's poor cousin, is also seeing huge demand. In the last 6 months, the price of silver has been closing the gap on gold. And to discuss why silver is suddenly the darling metal, I'm joined by Troy Schwensen from the Global Speculator. Now, Troy Schwensen, silver is closing the gap on gold. What ratio do you expect this to stabilise at?
Okay, Whitney. Well, at the moment we're presently seeing the gold-silver ratio at around about 52. The last 40 years, the ratio has tended to fluctuate between around about 20 to 1 and 100 to 1. So over the next 4 to 5 years, I would expect the ratio to probably gravitate towards around the 20 mark, and I would expect silver to outperform gold from here on end.
So why is there such an interest in silver bullion?
Well, I think you would agree that there's probably a lot of interest. Well, there's interest in a lot of commodities right now, and silver and gold is obviously are inflation hedges, if you like. But I think there are two main forces driving interest in commodities in general right now, including silver and gold. Obviously, there's an insatiable appetite for commodities coming out of China and India. I mean, we've all heard about that. But there's another big factor, I believe, and that's the devaluation of the US dollar. The US dollar has been declining quite steadily now for well on 7 years, and on a trade-weighted basis it's fallen about 40%. So we're seeing a lot of investment into commodities as a hedge against a fall in the US dollar, and silver and gold are obviously also benefiting from this as well.
So if we see the US dollar go up, do you expect that the demand for silver will then decrease?
Yeah, I mean, I don't expect to see the US dollar rise anytime soon. I mean, there's a pretty strong message coming from the US Federal Reserve right now that they're willing to sacrifice the dollar in order to prop up the US economy, which is obviously, if not in a recession, very close to a recession right now. So they've cut interest rates in half in the last 12 months, despite some pretty serious inflation concerns. So, yeah, I don't hold a lot of hope for the US dollar, but yes, I guess if the US dollar was to start rallying, I guess you would see interest in silver and gold probably start to wane a little bit.
Okay, now you're saying that you expect that silver will outperform gold in the future. Is this just physical demand, or are we seeing also paper demand?
There's a massive amount of paper demand right now. Obviously, with a lot of money coming into commodities, there's a lot of speculation going on, and we tend to see the vast amounts of speculation in the paper market for silver and gold. Just to give you an idea of how big the paper market is in silver, last year there was a turnover of around about 80 billion ounces of silver. And just to give you an idea of how large that is, the total supply of silver just in an average year coming on the market is usually around about 1 billion ounces of silver. So there's an astronomical amount of trade being done on the paper markets, almost to the point where you'd have to start asking a few questions. But yeah, in short answer to your question, yes, a lot of paper trade.
Okay, so would you say that there's a big turnover in silver, a lot of paper trade? Does this offer an easier entry point into precious metals than, say, gold market? Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, I would say buying paper silver, or paper gold for that matter, is a way of playing, I guess, the silver and gold price for higher prices. It's not the safest way of playing the precious metals market. Obviously, holding the physical metal itself is the ideal and the safest way of I guess, investing in silver and gold. But yes, I mean, we've got the advent of exchange-traded funds that have come about in the last 4 to 5 years, and we've seen a lot of popularity in those funds and a lot of money flowing into those funds. So yeah, it is becoming more popular to actually trade or invest in silver and gold via the paper markets.
Now, we're seeing a lot of hot or speculative money being poured into commodities. Is the price of silver benefiting from this?
Yes, absolutely. Look, I think it's pretty fair to say that the performance of silver and gold is probably not extraordinary when you compare it to other commodities that have gone up quite a lot in the last 4 to 5 years. I mean, obviously we've seen massive rises in the price of copper, the price of iron ore, etc. But the price of silver has probably risen about 300%. Since about 2002, 2003. So yes, I think it's pretty fair to say there is a fair bit of money flowing into silver, but as far as outperforming the other metals, it's probably roughly on par with a lot of the other commodities that have benefited.
Okay, now, recently I was speaking to Jonathan Barrett from Commodity Broking Services about this asset bubble, this speculation or talk that there's an asset bubble forming in the commodities markets. Now, he seems to think that is the case, particularly with oil, but if that is the case and that was to burst, what sort of impact would that have on, say, silver?
Well, I mean, I'd like to think that silver as a safe haven asset would hold up reasonably well, but I think it's pretty realistic to expect that silver would, there'd be some fallout in the silver market as well, and the silver price would probably decline. Silver has quite a large industrial application, so if the commodity markets were to sell off, and I'd be assuming that would be to do with economic weakness internationally, it'd be pretty fair to expect to have some sort of fallout in the silver price, but I would expect silver to outperform probably a lot of the other commodities
because of its industrial.
Because of its safe haven appeal as a precious metal.
Okay, all right, Troy Schwensen. We'll have to leave it there, but thanks for your time today.
No worries. Thanks for having me.